Hello, and welcome back to the Battle Room. And today we are going to talk about probably the most important topic in all of competitive Pokemon, and that is team building. When it comes to competitive Pokemon battling, 51% of the battle has already been decided before you even search for a battle. And today we are going to teach you how to utilize that to your advantage by teaching you how to build a team. My name is the Battle Room, and you're probably wondering, who am I to tell you how to build a team? Now on this slide, I have a few of my accomplishments, most notably my third at the World Championships in 2014 with a team I built myself, but my proudest accomplishment is being friends with Raghav. And lucky for us, Raghav is here today to join us on this educational journey we're about to partake in and share with us his illustrious views of team building.
Thank you so much for having me, Colin. I'm always happy to be here. And outside of breathing, team building is my number one priority. Now on screen, we also have a few of my accomplishments, most notably getting second at NAIC in 2023. But again, my proudest accomplishment is also being friends with Colin. But what you didn't know is it started with team building together.
Now we have a few things to keep in mind on our journey today. This is in the doubles format. We play VGC, so that is what we're focusing on, specifically team building with doubles, which is of course bring 6, and then you have to pick 4 Pokemon out of those 6 Pokemon to bring to each battle. It is a set level to 50.
There is also a 90-second team preview where you can see what 6 the opponent has, and you have to decide which 4 are the best to bring into that. Now, in official tournaments, we have something called open team sheets where you get to see their moves, items, and abilities, but not the way their Pokemon are trained. And lastly, you always have to remember to have fun, because team building is one of the hardest things in the game. Most of the time, people just wait for a top player to make a strong team and steal it. But today, we're going to make team building a piece of cake.
This is literally going to be us. Team building is going to be a piece of cake. It's going to be a very hands-on experience, and we're going to nurture and guide you along the way.
So first, we need to get a sense of the basic strategies. Let's start off with hyper offense. This is an all-gas, no-break strategy where there's an emphasis on really fast speed control and all damage. You usually have little to no bulk, and you're trying to make some heavy reads and not really switch. These games tend to be really quick and are determined in the first few turns of the game. Our next archetype is similar, but almost the opposite. It is Hard Trick Room. This entire game plan revolves around setting Trick Room, which reverses the speed order, allowing the slowest Pokemon to go first. With that in mind, it only lasts 5 turns, so you have to find a way to win in 5 turns or ensure another Trick Room. Like Hyper Offense, this often has a lot of heavy reads and limited switching.
The next team we have here is Balance. This is usually what you see at the highest level. It is a mix of offense and defense, thus Balance. It has the ability to pivot and reposition. It's really just a huge focus and heavy emphasis on switching and slowly corralling your opponent into an awkward position while you set up a sweeper or you bring in the sweeper at the perfect time. It is not really reliant on any one form of speed control. It is very dynamic and very flexible. You'll oftentimes see Trick Room involved, sometimes Tailwind, and sometimes none of it. And finally, we have Bulky Setup. It's all about stacking damage reduction, whether that's with screens, whether that's with Intimidate. It's all about basically turning the game into a single player game where your opponent can just no longer deal with your strong Pokemon. It prioritizes protecting, enabling a key setup Pokemon to sweep the game. It's really not focused with speed control whatsoever, but it often will abuse stuff like Thunder Wave or Tailwind to potentially set up that sweeper in a more advantageous situation.
With that in mind, here are some of the most common pitfalls when it comes to team building. First up, we have redundant roles. On a team, we don't really need 3 or more of the same type of Pokemon. For example, we don't need 3 water types if we already have Politoed and Basculegion. Another thing to watch out for is you don't want all physical type Pokemons or all special attacking Pokemon. We want to create a diversity of attacks. We don't want it to be easy for our opponent to shut us down. For example, if the opponent has Will-O-Wisp, all our physical attackers are going to be very annoyed. Or if our opponent sets up Light Screen or is just able to stack up certain defensive boosts, we want to have multiple angles in destroying their team. The next common pitfall is no speed control. A lot of new players, they're so busy trying to figure out their strategy that they forget to have speed control altogether. If your opponent is constantly moving before you, your strategy will never work. You will likely just die. So it's very important to have your own form of speed control that is catered to your team, that allows you to move first and actually execute the game plan that you came up with.
The next common mistake is being too focused or not focused enough. For example, if you had a Belly Drum Azumarill team, if Azumarill is your only Pokemon that can deal damage and execute your strategy, if it goes down to some random move or you fight something like Gastrodon, the whole team can crumble and fall apart. Or vice versa, if you have a Belly Drum Azumarill but you have no way to help enable it or set it up either with fake out or redirection, then your strategy just isn't going to work and the Azumarill is going to feel like dead weight. The goal is always to have really good synergy tightly packed with the Pokemon, but a lot of flexibility as well so that you can execute into different strategies. And finally, the last pitfall is a lack of metagame awareness. Pokemon is constantly evolving and changing. Sometimes what's good today may not be good tomorrow. For example, Charizard was very, very good week 1, destroying the ladder, but then Aerodactyl came to play, and the Charizard players needed to adapt and find new ways to take victories over Aerodactyl. It's really important to stay in touch with the latest tournaments and finishes just to know what's going on and what new Pokemon are moving in and out of the metagame. Now, with all that information out of the way, let's take a look at our team building roadmap. Team building can be so daunting and so scary, so we've simplified it as much as we could into 6 easy steps for you to follow along with at home and build your own team. So let's look at step number 1, choosing your base.
So step 1 is choosing your cake base, or in VGC terms, your starting concept. Starting your team can often feel like the most daunting aspect of team building. After all, it is the central strategy of your team. It is going to be the focal point that determines the rest of the team. But it might be simpler than you think. Some really common starting points are weather Pokemon, like Mega Charizard or Tyranitar, Politoed. But it can even be a setup strategy like Swords Dance King Gambit. It can really be anything you want. It can be something you're comfortable with. For me, that might be Milotic. For you, it might be Watchog. This guide is going to help us through all of this.
The starting point can look so much different depending on what format you're playing, and in this current format, it's all about Mega Pokemon. The format itself is very, very limited on which Pokemon are allowed, with only 187 different species. So Mega Pokemon become this very centralizing and strong force in the metagame. Now notably, it is the only signature mechanic that is available right now, with 59 different Megas to choose from. Given how centralizing they are, Mega Pokemon are one of the easiest and most intuitive ways to start building a team. Now, what are Mega Pokemon and why are they so good? This was a mechanic that was added all the way back in 2014, and it remained a very integral part of VGC until 2020 when Mega Pokemon were removed. But this year, they're finally back. Mega Pokemon basically transforms it into a Mega form, which has 100 increased base stats and also usually a new ability. Only certain Pokemon can evolve, and you do have to run a specific item to make the Mega evolution occur, so you are limited with a lack of an item. Now you can run 2 Megas at the same time, but they cannot both Mega evolve at the same time during the game. You can only have one.
So to help things along in this guide, we are going to be giving a step-by-step example with you. We are going to start our team with Mega Charizard. Why? We really like its ability to spread those heat waves, some strong special attacking damage, but also set up the sun. With our starting concept decided, we move on to step 2, choosing your filling or flavor, which creates a core.
Now, when it comes to choosing your filling, the first thing you want to look at is what complements the base. What enables my starting idea? Now, usually there's a Pokemon that just pairs so incredibly beautifully with the base. Sometimes it's Basculegion and Pelipper, a match made in heaven, or Sandstream Tyranitar paired with a Sandrush Excadrill, enabling to get those speed boosts just by having the weather. Sometimes you have to look really, really deep and try to find something that helps enable your starting Pokemon, much like Disabled Gengar paired with Encore Whimsicott. Now, it's not something you might see right off the bat, but they clearly are 2 very good partners.
The best way to go about this is to look at your base concept's ability, its typing, its stats, and its move pool. See what its potential is and where it really needs help. For example, we have Charizard. It's able to set up the sun, it boosts fire type damage, which reduces its weakness to water. It's a fire type, but it's also flying, so it's immune to ground types, but it still has its weaknesses in rock and electric. With that analysis in mind, we came up with Garchomp as its best supporting partner. And the reasons why are actually quite intuitive. Charizard is a flying type. Garchomp has Earthquake, and we can press it for free. It gives us a central strategy to click our strongest spread moves, and Fire Ground coverage is phenomenal. Most importantly, Garchomp is strong into Rock and Electric type Pokemon that Charizard is weak to. On top of that, Garchomp is weak to Ice Pokemon, but Charizard's immense fire damage protects it. And when you're trying to build a team, you should be trying to do the same thing. Now, every team or every cake is going to look a little bit different. Maybe you have Charizard and you decided, I want to abuse the sun and have a Venusaur with Chlorophyll so it can move first and put things to sleep. Just keep in mind you want to try and patch the weaknesses while taking full advantage of the strengths.
Now that we have our base and our filling, it is time to start elevating our team and our cake by building layers.
So we have a solid start. We have 2 Pokemon, and they're great, don't get me wrong, but to compete in official tournaments, we need 6. So this is where you kind of repeat the analysis process to add layers or depth to your team. You want to be doing the same thing we did for our base to our next Pokemon. Charizard and Garchomp are incredibly potent, but they can't do it all themselves. They need help, and they're looking for a third.
And that third is Sneasler. Now, as we add more layers to our cake, it's very important that we're obviously patching up the current weaknesses we have, such as rock or ice, but it is also very important that we add new dimensions to the team and new threats. And Sneasler is a perfect example of this. The resistance to rock is very important on a Charizard team, but offensively, Sneasler is able to threaten and put pressure on both Charizard's ops and Garchomp's. It also adds another dimension to the team. Fake Out is an incredible utility move that Sneasler can provide to just completely stop targets in their tracks. It also fits the ebb and flow of the current cake that we're building. It's very fast, much like Charizard and Garchomp are, and it fits that style perfectly of an offensive, fast team.
With Sneasler added to the team, we repeated that analysis process one more time and came to the conclusion that we need Incineroar on our team. Now, we could spend a whole, honestly, YouTube series explaining why Incineroar is actually the GOAT of VGC, but on this team, it has very specific uses. It pairs well with Charizard because it abuses the sun, but defensively is where we really want it. It resists ice, resists psychic, and it's able to threaten those types back. Most importantly, it has the ability Intimidate, also access to the move Fake Out, and Parting Shot. Incineroar is kind of a glue piece on the team that gives us a little bit more defensive flexibility and the ability to reposition our more offensive threats to actually KO the opponent's Pokemon. So we've got a little core going. We've added Sneasler as an offensive piece and Incineroar as a defensive piece, and the team's starting to really come together. But it wasn't enough, because we're going to step 4, frosting your cake, bringing everything together.
So we are almost done here. This is one of the most important part, the glue phase. We want to just patch up any weaknesses and smooth everything over so that our cake is looking fine. So the first Pokemon we're looking at here is Milotic. With Sneasler, Garchomp, Charizard, and Incineroar, one of our biggest weaknesses was opposing Incineroar. So it was imperative that that was one of the first things that we answer with this particular slot. Water and ice coverage are perfect for protecting our core, dealing with those pesky fire types that can wall Charizard, and also that ice coverage to help win mirrors against Garchomp. It also provides much needed speed control with Icy Wind, because currently we have none. It also gives us our first water resist on the team.
Our next and final addition to the team is Venusaur. Now with Chlorophyll, it obviously adds another huge speed dimension, instantly creating a threat when it's led with our Charizard. It's able to hit water types and fairy types, protecting our initial core of Charizard and Garchomp, and defensively gives us a second water resist. But most notably, Venusaur gets access to Sleep Powder, and with that boosted speed, we've just created a monster of disruption. This step is where everything really comes together. You want to find your final weaknesses or maybe a specific Pokemon that you just don't have a lot into. You want to find all of the holes to make sure our cake is looking beautiful. So now we finally have a team of 6 whole Pokemon, and they're looking pretty gorgeous. But it's time to get into the details. Step 5. Decorating your cake.
When it comes to decorating in Pokemon, that is finalizing their items, moves, and EV spreads. Each Pokemon has an incredible amount of depth to them, and they can run a variety of different moves, abilities, and items. So it's really imperative that you try to find the best option for your team.
Let's take a look at some of our notable choices. First up, on Charizard, we have standard moves in Heat Wave and Weather Ball, but I decided Air Slash might be necessary to deal with that pesky Como. Similarly, on Garchomp, we wanted the Haban Berry, so we're able to take a hit from Como. Another cool choice is we have Rock Tomb on Sneasler, giving us some more speed control, but also just really helping in the Charizard mirror that we think is going to be really common. This part of the process is where you can get really creative, but also applies your metagame knowledge. You want to be aware of the threats and have your intricate decisions catered towards the metagame.
So the final part of decorating our cake is going to be setting up their EV spreads. This can be one of the hardest parts of Pokemon building, of Pokemon in general, for new beginners at this game. Now, some Pokemon are very easy to make EV spreads for. For example, our Venusaur, it needs to be fast and strong, so we made it max speed and max special attack. There wasn't much thought put into that one, but it is probably the most effective spread you can possibly run. Same with Sneasler, but some Pokemon like Incineroar can be very intricate, so we wanted to break it down step by step and give you a little bit of an EV training guide for how to train Pokemon, and we're going to be using Incineroar as an example. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to identify your goals. So with Incineroar as our example, he is all about switching in and out of the battle. He's a perfect defensive piece. So we want Incineroar to tank special hits. Obviously it has Intimidate, so that isn't necessarily as much of a priority, but there still are physical hits that he needs to be able to withstand so he can be as useful as possible. So given the context of the current metagame, we really want Incineroar to be able to live a hit from Basculegion, who is a top meta threat, but we also want it to be able to live a hit from Mega Floette and be able to switch in freely on it.
This process can be a little bit long and tricky, feels like a series of trial and error, but we have our best friend in the damage calculator, which we will of course link down below. So spend some time and figure out how you want to live these attacks. Incineroar is going to be a defensive piece, so we're likely going to max out the HP, but sometimes we need to try out different combinations of HP, defense, special defense. Maybe we need to take a little bit out of HP, a little bit more in one of the defenses, or even just give it a different nature. After spending a little bit of time on the damage calculator with our goals in mind, we came up with this beautiful spread. We're running max HP, and it only needed 6 defense to live the -1 wave crash, and that was amazing because it let us run 16 special defense with a careful nature to live that Light of Ruin. That left us with 12 extra stats. We put 1 in attack and 11 in speed because we believe that having the faster fake out could be really valuable.
And with that said, we did it! This is us! This is you! We're celebrating! The team is done! The cake is complete and we can finally enjoy it. And the final step is eating your cake. Congratulations, you've made the cake. Now all you have to do is taste it. And I think tasting it is a very important part of any cake making experience. How did our recipe actually turn out here?
Was the cake too sweet? Did you put salt instead of sugar? Were the flavor combinations weird? In Pokemon terms, this just means testing it and seeing what needs adjustment. Remember, like grief, this is not going to be a linear process. You might have to go back to step 1 or step 3 and readjust to see what went wrong. It might also just be a really minor change, like a single moveset change on a Pokemon. At the end of the day, team building is an ever-changing process, and only you can really know when it's done. With all that said, good luck and have fun team building or baking cakes.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I wish you luck on your team building journey. Goodbye.